What's going on, everybody? Today we are going to be going through my preseason checklist. So to help you guys out a little bit, I just jotted down a few things that I try and look for and check before going out to any event. We got to start with safety. That is the most important thing when you're at home working in the garage and going out to the track. We're going to be touching base on your helmet, seats, and harnesses, and your fire extinguisher, making sure they are still up to par and they are not outdated. Then we're going to move on to your tires. Do you have enough tires? And do you have the correct tires for whatever event you're going to, whether that be the correct width and or the tread width. Then we're going to be going over the fluids. Do you have enough fuel for the event? Do you have gas cans for the event? Do you have spare oil and or filters in case you need to change the oil before or at the event? One thing in the fluids category is coolant switching over to water. Usually at most tracks, you do have to switch from antifreeze into a regular water in your cooling system. It's just easier cleanup on the track. Then we're going to get into tools and parts, making sure you have any custom tools you need. You are replacing any broken tools or broken parts from last season, and make sure you have spare parts of things that you know you broke last year and you just want to be prepared for this year. So starting off in the safety category, make sure you double check your helmet. Depending on the track, it can vary. You might only be required to have a DOT helmet. You may need to have an FIA certified or SA approved helmet, which is a certain type of fire rating. I just purchased this last year. It is an SA 2020. That's good for quite a while. Should be good on that side of things. Then we're going to take a look at the seat belts or the harnesses and the seats. When you're checking your harnesses, there should be a stamp or a tag on your harnesses. I have them on both sides. Belts are still good for this year. Same with your seat. There should be a tag on here marked with a date. My seat is good through 2025, so next year I might have to look into upgrading and switching to a different seat. This year, I'm good. And the last thing is your fire extinguisher. You should always have one in your vehicle. Most tracks, if not all tracks, will require one of these be mounted inside your vehicle within reach, and they are good for 10 to 12 years. This is dated 2021, so I'm good for quite a few more years. Now moving on to tires. Depending on the event, you might have tire restrictions. Some grassroots events require that you run at least a 300 treadwear or higher. These Accelera PHIs are a 400 treadwear, so I'm good for most events that would require 300 or higher. And all my 200 treadwear down here, comp tires for the Open Drifting the Plane series. I got plenty of those, should be good for all season. I do have a few more on order that I'm going to be trying. They have a 351 tire that is a 300 treadwear. I'm going to give those a try this year as well. So we should be seeing a few more tires before the first event. Going along with the tires, I do have extra wheels so that I can have many tires mounted up, pre-mounted, so I don't have to pay a ridiculous fee or any extra cost mounting tires at the track. Now, some vehicles may require a different style of fuel, whether it's E85 or a race gas. For whatever horsepower level or performance you have, you do need to run a specific type of fuel. I'm just running pump 92. That's plenty good for me. I have 2 spare gas cans that usually will get me through an entire weekend, like a 3-day weekend. Just fill up the tank before I go and fill up those 2 gas cans, and I should be all set. My car is pretty well set up and basically ready for my first event. I already got a fresh oil change in the car. I do not have the coolant switched over to water yet. We've had quite a few cold days in the last couple weeks, so I haven't been able to switch that yet. Running an aluminum radiator, if you have any freezing issues in that system, you can run into cracking, and you don't want that. That's an expensive radiator. I do need to replace my air filter for the turbo as well. That's pretty packed full of rubber and dirt from last season, so want to make sure that we got proper airflow into the front side of that turbo. I do have spare oil and spare filters and diff and trans fluid, just in case I need to change it mid-season. I'll usually run maybe 2 events on an oil change and maybe half season on diff and trans fluid, depending how hard I'm running the car. If I get knocked out early in a competition, not putting as much wear on the oil and it's not really damaging the oil, so you can maybe make it another event. It's all up to your personal preference for when you change oil. When you're going higher horsepower, it's probably good to change it more often. And finally, we'll get into the tools and spare parts. I got a new toolbox this year, so I don't have to use this suitcase style to pack all my tools into. Yes, we can roll that because it has wheels, but we would still lift that into the back of the truck. Now we have this bigger box that we can put into the trailer and get that strapped down so it stays in the trailer. We will take it out at the end of events because I store my trailer at a storage unit. I do need to get more sets of tools so that I can leave the set of tools here and have a separate set of tools in this toolbox. Then I don't have to go back and forth with moving the toolboxes around. Now we got basically all my stuff set up in this toolbox as if I'm going to a race weekend this weekend or something. Now I'm going to use the suitcase style as my spare parts bin instead of just a tote bin that you would have to carry around. Now I can have all the parts in this tool cart down here and wheel it where we need to. It'll make it a lot easier when you got a bunch of control arms and heavy parts. It's not easy to lift and carry a long distance, put into the back of the truck. Now I'm pretty sure I didn't break any tools last year, maybe one or two, and I just don't remember. I do need to replace some of my drill bits because those just have been wore out. It's pretty easy and cheap to replace those. Most of my tools are from Harbor Freight because they have warranty and they're pretty cheap. You can't beat just really cheap tools that you can replace. Basically anywhere has a Harbor Freight. Now if we take a look at this toolbox, I just have some wrenches, loose wrenches up in the top with some gloves, spare spark plugs up top. Go into the first drawer, I got basically all my specialty tools, some extra control arm bolts, heim joints for the tie rods. I got some like sweat bands for on top of the brake reservoir and the clutch reservoir. You do need those on there at most tracks to prevent spilling. It soaks that up so that there's not a big mess, less likely to have a fire. Going into the next drawer, got some big wrenches, cut-off wheels, sanding discs, torque wrench, hammer, dead blow, safety glasses. Then all the clamps you would ever need for intercooler piping. Those are basically all the old ones from last year I took off, and I have fresh ones on this year, so those are all taken care of and good. And I got rid of the old spares that were kind of in bad condition and put these better ones in here. And then I got some fuses and such. Last season I had a couple of taillight fuses blow out. Left foot braking for quite a while you're drifting. You're putting a lot of amps through that. You shouldn't really blow a bunch of fuses, but they're aftermarket taillights, so it's drawing more power than they probably need to. So having some spare fuses for stuff like that is necessary. Dropping into the next one, I got my toe plates with tapes, extensions for when I have to do, or if I have to do a transmission swap. I do have a spare trans, that's one of my spare parts as well, along with all the control arms that are spares, stock ones, and a lower control arm and an upper control arm. I also have an inch-pounds torque wrench and a timing light just in case. I do have some wheel spacers, but I don't really use those. They're universal, they could be used on anything. Then I got my drills, an impact, an air hammer, drill, and a small impact with their battery chargers and the drill bits that need to be replaced. Then I have an extension cord, brake cleaner, brake pads, I have brake calipers for the rear, I have brake fluid, more gear oil and diff fluid. I also have my bleeder funnel for the cooling system, a grinder, and a saw down there. Maybe I don't need all of this stuff, but when you're traveling more than an hour somewhere or 2, 3, 6 hours somewhere, it is good to have some of these parts so you don't have to go out and buy something every time. Yes, there are some places you can buy some cheap tools just to get you by. Make sure you look into stores around where the racetrack is that you're going to make sure you can get some spares just in case, whether it's parts stores or tool places. Even Walmart has tools, Harbor Freights, O'Reilly, AutoZone, whatever it may be. Just make sure you have something that you can go to just in case. I do have a muffler that I can bring with just in case. Depending on the track, you might need a muffler on. Right now, I don't have a muffler. It's just straight and a dump right behind the axle. And then I have spare CV axles for the rear. There's 2 of them up there. One I think is a stock one, and the other one is a brand new OEM replacement. I also usually will bring my welder with a gasless flux core, and then I'll bring my tank just in case I need to do some sort of stainless repair on the exhaust, and my air compressor. Now, when you bring anything to do tires, make sure you have a jack and your jack stands. These are my gas cans that go along with fueling up the vehicle. Now, I believe we went through everything on my checklist. It's not a bad idea to create a checklist for yourself. Drop a comment down below what you think of this checklist. That's basically gonna wrap it up. We made it through that whole checklist, checking off everything that we had. Make sure you have everything easy to load so that you're not running all over the garage. Come up race day and you can just have everything ready to go, throw it in the trailer, throw it in the back of the truck, and get onto the racetrack. That's gonna wrap up today's episode. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe.